Okay, so the most common way that students get paid is an hourly rate. Now, with hourly wages or an hourly rate, typically there is some sort of overtime that can eventually get made. Now, overtime is normally paid at what's called time and a half. Okay, time and a half is exactly what it sounds like. It means you get 1.5 times your normal rate. So sometimes you'll get time and a half, sometimes you'll get double time, and then sometimes on like special holidays like Christmas, New Year's, things like that, or Boxing Day, where stores are typically not open because it's a statutory holiday, they'll even give you double and a half or triple times your pay. So that means you make 3 times or 2.5 times your regular pay. But for what we're dealing with, most of the time we're going to just be talking about time and a half. So the way this works is, let's assume you have a job. I'm going to change that hourly rate. This is an old hourly rate. So let's assume you have a job that's paying you, I don't know, let's go like this. Let's make this better. We're going to assume that our job is paying us $15 an hour. So we're getting $15 for every hour. And that's going to be for the first 40 hours. Now, anything over that, you're going to get overtime pay. So if we give this example, we have a work week where we're working 38 hours. Well, our regular hours are going to be 38. Our regular pay, we know, is $15 per hour. Now, we don't have any overtime because we haven't worked over 40 hours. Okay, so we can't have any overtime pay because we don't have any extra hours there. So what we're going to have is 0 hours of overtime. Now we can do the time and a half, which would end up being, $22.50. Now the way I figured that out was I did 15 times 1.5, time and a half. And that's $22.50 or 22.5. But we're dealing with money, so it becomes $22.50. Now, when we're working through this, if we had an overtime rate, or we had hours, we do have an overtime rate, but we have no hours there, so we can't have any overtime pay. If we did have overtime pay, we would have an overtime rate there that we would have to add in. But since we don't, we just have to look at that 38 hours and then times it by 15, which is our hourly rate. So our total pay is going to be 38 times 15, which is $570 for that week. Now let's look at the second example. We've got 49 hours this time. Well, we've got 40 regular hours because we know we can only work 40 hours that are regular. Now, you can kind of look at it however you want. The extra hours are going to give us what the overtime hours are here. So we're going to have 49 minus 40, which is going to give us 9 hours of overtime. Our pay hasn't changed from the last example, so we have 15 and we have $22.50. So our total pay is going to be our regular pay, which is 40 times 15 plus our overtime pay, which is going to be 9 times $22.50. Now I'm going to write the answers below just so you can kind of see where I'm getting my numbers from here. But I've got to multiply both of those things together and then add them. So 40 times 15 is going to give me 600. And $22.50 times 9 is going to give me $202.50. So then when I add them together, And this is just using BEDMAS to do this. I'm going to do the multiplying first and then add them together. I'm going to get $802.50. So 9 hours of overtime, I got over 300 or almost $300 more. All right, let's do one more example. So you work at a flower shop that delivers, you get paid $14.25 per hour. Last weekend, you had a big delivery, you got paid 3 hours of overtime. What were your earnings for the week? Well, let's assume, like the last example, we had 40 hours before. So our regular pay would be our 40 hours times our rate, which is $14.25, and my pencil's dying, which is going to give us our regular pay. So we've got 40 times $14.25, which is going to be 570, which is actually the same as what we had before. And then our overtime pay is going to be $14.25 times 1.5, which is going to give us our overtime rate of $21.38. And then we're going to take that $21.38, and times it by the 3 hours of overtime we worked. And we're going to get $64.14. So now I just need to add this and this together. So our total is going to be 570 plus 64.14, which is going to be equal to 634.14. And that's how you do overtime pay.